Recently, I was browsing the Xbox store, checking to see what things I wanted to pick out, what I wanted to play, something I haven't played before. And one thing that I saw that caught my eye on multiple occasions was this game called Horizon Chase Turbo. It was advertised as being a callback to the 90s, the time when I really grew up, the time when I was first exposed to the idea of video games. And one of the most popular sort of video games for me at the time, at least for me, was racing games. Now, I grew up with games like Outrun and the very early games of Mario Kart, but when I saw this game, I was reminded of one of the first video games I ever played, which was on the Sega Genesis, and it was Formula One. That was for its time. When you look back at videos, it's actually a very well-made game. Great in terms of sound design, great in terms of the way that it was visually designed as well, and the controls were rather tight. And for its time, it was stood out as probably one of the games that remained with me, like I remember best about that era. So when I saw the first trailer of this game, true, it's supposed to evoke feelings of, the original Outrun games. But I was reminded very much of my childhood playing Formula One when I saw this trailer. So eventually, after a little while, I had to buy this. Usually goes for around $20 on the Xbox Live store, but I got it for around $12 before tax because it was on a 40% off sale. And it's a game like this that proves you don't need to have a huge AAA release for a game. You don't need to have a very crazy racing game. You don't necessarily need to have all the bells and whistles. I love Forza Horizon. I love Forza Motorsport. And a whole bunch of other racing games that come around with it. I really do like cars. And I really do like the environments and the technical aspect of racing. But seeing a game like this, not only does it bring me back, but it reminds me that video games are supposed to be fun. But in seeing this and actually sitting down to play it, I discovered that I had found something that I had fell in love with in terms of nostalgia. And not only that, a game that handles very, very well, has excellent controls, visuals are wonderful, especially since I have it's X enhanced, and so I can enjoy that 4K aspect, as well as 60 frames a second, which really brings more to the table. But above all, I just found an enjoyable experience that I could sit down and play for hours. And I truly have played it for hours. I think the first day I sat down playing it well past midnight, trying to beat my score. Trying to beat beat scores, yes, but also beat my times, as is something that you should do for racing games. Now, the game itself is actually surprisingly complex in the sense of its content. Don't let the first impression fool you. There's actually a good, decent amount of content in this game. So the first thing you're going to be doing when you actually buy this is going to be going into the World Tour mode, where you're going to be going from location to location all around the world, and each location has 3 sublocations, and inside these sublocations are 3 tracks, usually 3, with an additional bonus race that's going to be used to upgrade your cars. So it'll actually take you a good amount of time to make sure that you can 100% a stage. If you're a good driver, of course, and if you know like the ins and outs of racing and all that, you can probably walk away with a few 100% completed like on your first run. But if you've seen the footage here, is that sometimes, actually all the time, the game will throw out these little tokens all around the map that you'll need to drive around. So you'll have to technically drive. You'll have to make sure that you can collect all those coins. And that will basically allow you to basically S-rank the track. So if you're seeing like the results here, it's counting those tokens. And even if you score like second place and all that, it's you're not going to get that ultimate trophy. If you get first place but miss one of those tokens, you're not going to get that ultimate trophy. You really need to race well, and you really need to race smart. Memorize where some of these locations are on the track and account for those. Sometimes the game will give you enough tries to catch the rest of those coins on your second or third lap, and sometimes it will expect you to get those in a very small time frame. At the time of my recording, I'm not completely done this game. I'm about halfway done the main mode, the main tournament mode, not the tournament mode, I'm sorry, the World Tour mode, where you go to a fairly large number of locations. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if this game would have some sort of post-launch support, and it does have post-launch support, but in terms of adding more locations, perhaps, that would allow more cars. There are skins in the game that, if you actually perform well on these things called season modes, you can gain extra little rewards from the developers, and it's good to see that they're actually keeping up with the game. They're actually adding to it over time. Post-launch support is something that is very important in our day and age, whether we like it or not. And even for something that's relatively as small as this thing, it was good to see that sort of attention. It's good to see the attention to detail as well. Even in the somewhat simplistic art design, there's charm to it. There's day-night cycles. Even like the rotating background, it has some sort of appeal. But it also could be a trap. When you start to play, when you start to upgrade your cars, when you start to get faster and faster vehicles, you'll need to pay attention to track layout. Otherwise, you're going to go into the sidewall. Now, it's possibly happened already in the time that I've done this recording here. I'm not necessarily paying attention to what's on screen as I'm recording right now, but there were some times when I was playing, and some times where I was just like a fraction of a moment off on my turn, or maybe I had a bit too much gas when I should have eased off the accelerator, and that'll send me into the sidewall, and that'll damage you. And there's also a fuel component, which is funny enough, something that I don't think anybody has really had to deal with a lot in their games, is to manage your fuel. If you're not careful, you will run out of gas. You will run out of gas and you will slow down. It's not necessarily, boom, game over. You still have a chance to limp across the finish line. So there are gas pickups. And not only that, they also add to your score. So it's just another aspect of challenge. How well can I race? Can I upgrade my cars to increase fuel viability? Can I do all these things to give me the best possible score? Now, in terms of the full player base, I don't necessarily know how many people bought this game, but it's there has to have been at least a couple thousand, given how that there is a good, healthy leaderboard and people that are participating in all that. And I think a game like this needs a bit more attention, because it's one of those small jewels. It's proof that you don't need a multi-million-dollar project. You don't need like a $200 million project like some that EA or Activision can finance. You can have a small, like, love project. That's what this is. This is a callback to the 90s. This is the time when most gamers were kids and growing up and getting their first taste of what it meant to play video games. And seeing this, it just brings me back, but it also makes me appreciate what we had. It makes me appreciate what we lived through and appreciate where games were, and can provide a valuable lesson on where games can go. Remember, games, first and foremost, are fun. They're not movies. They're not like interactive sort of things. Although there are good Telltale games that are like Tales from the Borderlands, which I guess is very, very good as well. But that's not necessarily fun. That's an experience, but this is fun. And fun trumps all when it comes to a video game. So I'm probably going to upload like one without commentary as well. Like, I've done a good amount of racing. I now understand a lot more about the game. Like, you saw like a couple of burnouts at the beginning of each race there. I later learned that you can actually time your start so you can get a small boost. Which, granted, I didn't even think about, because like that's a very arcadey sort of thing, and that's on me. I should have known something like that would happen. But there's little quirks that can help you increase your scores and can help you optimize your times. I can see myself playing this game a lot, and there's modes I have not unlocked yet, like the endurance mode, which will unlock after I complete all the locations of the world tour. So I've still got some time to sink into this game. And there's one bad thing I have to say about it, if I could say any sort of bad thing. I think it would be the lack of the other car's engine noises. Yeah, you get a lot of your own car's sound, and there's a good variety of sound with each car that you go. Each one has its own audible identity. But you're basically the only one on the road. Maybe that would increase like sound overlap or something like that. Maybe it would just put a bit of strain on the sound designer. But otherwise, I have to say that they did excellent job. And I think that's really only my major complaint. My research into the scores of this game were very, very good. Everyone seems to like it. I think it's a good addition to anybody's library. So that's me rambling on for about 11 and a half minutes on this game, and why it means so much to me to see something like this. And I'm finally glad I sat down. I'm finally glad I bought it. Sometimes it's good to go back. Sometimes it's good to go back and see where you've been and take those lessons forward. Video games, I think, is in a location where it doesn't need to be right now. But small projects like these help me realize that there's still plenty of fun out there. There's still plenty of fun, and there's still plenty of good experiences. So anyways, I'm probably going to upload another video of Collection of Races with no commentary at all. I know a lot of people prefer their videos with no commentary, but I just wanted to sit down. And this is my first recorded video in a while where I actually have a commentary to explain my thoughts. So I wanted to get back into that, get back into the habit of sitting down and explaining my thoughts. And on a game like this, I think that's a very well timed, very well chosen occasion. So if you sat through this, thanks as always. And I'll see you the next time I decide to upload. Take it easy, people.